Hello, everyone. Diane Rosso and Joe LaValle with Tips on Pips. Hello, Joe.
Hey, Diane.
We are now on lesson number 8, and it's all about trading the gaps. Joe, when does a typical gap occur, and what are we really talking about here?
All right, let's refer to this chart I picked up off the internet. Looks like maybe it was put up there by ProfitF.com. So thanks, guys, for putting that up there. I thought this was a really good example and some good explanations on it. Typically, gaps occur Sunday when the market opens. And down here we have the candles closing price end of day on Friday, and we have next candles opening price beginning of day on Sunday. And the difference between those two is the gap.
So, do you trade that the minute it opens on Sunday, Joe?
Right, Diane, you and I talked about this. We have a little bit different perspective on gaps, and I think
Hmm.
that's good. And I think that people are going to get a lot of information out of that. I tend to let gaps go on Sunday, and I don't really pay a lot of attention to them. The reason for that for me is that there's a gap up or a gap down, which means something happened in the market. And if you take a look at the spreads on the opening gaps, a lot of times those spreads can get pretty high, and you have to have a huge movement to get back down. What do you think, Diane? What do you do?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm a firm believer, Joe, that gaps typically fill. The challenge with that theology is that you don't know when. So I, like you, am very leery of the opening on Sunday and the price of the spreads. So I typically wait an hour, and I would have gone short on this thinking that the gap was going to fill, but with a very tight stop because you just simply don't know when it's going to fill. And in this particular instance, I would have been wrong, but I would have been stopped out pretty quickly. So I think gaps. I have done well with them more often than not, but I am. This is a great reminder. This chart is a great reminder as to the fact that just because there's a gap doesn't mean it's going to fill anytime soon.
Yeah, and I think it's like anything else, where if you're used to trading opening gaps and you look for them and you have a strategy to deal with them, that's usually a pretty good indicator that you might do well with those gaps. If you don't have a plan, then you're probably not going to do as well. Now, for our time zone, Diane, typically these happen, Sunday afternoon, and usually I'm not around the computer at that point in time. So
Hmm.
I just really just ignore them, and I'll take a look at the market once it's had about 4 or 5 hours, maybe. That would be Sunday night for me, and take a look and see if there are things going on. Otherwise, I'm bright and early Monday morning.
And isn't that just another great reminder of our differences on gaps is also a style issue. I mean, that's what you could look at it as a style issue in trading. We all have different styles, and I think one of the hardest things in trading is to determine what your style is. So by writing a plan, defining your strategy, and adjusting that, I have no problem with strategies being adjusted over time as you become a more experienced trader. But I think it's really important to have one to adjust. And this is just a very good example of where our strategies are different. Trading's all about style, Joe.
Right, I agree. And a lot of times people will say, well, is there opening, other than the opening gap, is there any other time gaps occurred? And a lot of times it can happen somewhat during huge news events. And
Hmm.
if you have something that is a huge news event and you see a gap, then those types of gaps, I think, are less likely to fill quickly rather than the weekend type gap.
Couldn't agree with you more. Couldn't agree with you more.
Okay, well, that's what I have for gaps, Diane. I know that it's really, um, like you said, an individual decision, and I really think people should either have that in their trading plan or not have it. I don't think you should take a haphazard approach to it. I've chosen to just basically ignore it for my trading plan because I think there's a lot of other opportunities out there. And remember, just because the market's open 5 days a week and 24 hours a day doesn't mean you need to be there trading at all the times.
Good advice, Joe. Good advice. That concludes our lesson number 8. Look forward to 9 coming up.